The Fibonacci sequence, the number sequence known for its relationship with the golden ratio and golden spiral, which are known to appear in nature, in plants, shells, and galaxies, and more. With such natural beauty, symmetry, and ubiquity, I became interested in the possibility of musical applications. What does the Fibonacci sequence sound like? And what I discovered is fascinating. Join me and I will show you the Song of the Spiral. For those of you unfamiliar with the sequence, let me start at the beginning. A sequence is just a list of numbers. The Fibonacci sequence begins as 0 and 1 and is defined by the pattern that each number is the sum of the last two numbers. 0 plus 1 is 1, so the third term is 1. To get the fourth term, we add the last two numbers. 1 plus 1 gives us 2, so our fourth term is 2. We follow the same pattern to get the fifth term. The last two terms are 1 and 2, and their sum is 3, so our fifth term is 3. Here's the sequence up to 13 terms. If we try to convert the sequence into music in its raw form, we run into a problem. The numbers only go up. A single ascending line makes a pretty chord, but it doesn't really make music. But what if instead of just going up, we could wrap back around? This is where I have to do a math lesson on modular arithmetic, but don't worry, if you pass third grade math, you can do this. I'm not going to make you calculate anything, I'm just going to show you how it works, because it gives important context for how we turn this into music. If we want to know 13 mod 3, the simple way to do this is just 13 divided by 3. That gives us 4 with the remainder 1. When we're doing modular arithmetic, the remainder is what we're interested in. So, 13 mod 3 is congruent to 1. In modular arithmetic, we say congruent instead of equal. So we know how to do 13 mod 3. So what if we calculated mod 3 for the first few terms in the Fibonacci sequence? 0 mod 3 is 0. 1 mod 3, 1 divided by 3 is 0 with the remainder of 1. So 1 mod 3 is 1. 2 divided by 3 is 0 with the remainder of 2. So 2 mod 3 is 2. 3 divided by 3 is 1 with no remainder. So 3 mod 3 is 0. 5 mod 3 is 2. 8 mod 3 is 2. And 13 mod 3 is 1. So by using modular arithmetic on the entire sequence, we can get a new sequence. One that doesn't just go up, so it's more suitable to make music with. And if we look at the new sequence that we get from modular arithmetic, we'll notice a pattern. The first row is the Fibonacci sequence. The second row is the new sequence we got from taking each term of the Fibonacci sequence mod 3. Our new sequence repeats every 8 terms. 0, 1, 1, 2, 0, 2, 2, 1. Then again, 0, 1, 1, 2, 0, 2, 2, 1. And this goes on forever. Let's look at the sequence we get from mod 4. This one also repeats, but every 6 terms instead of every 8 terms. The magic of the Fibonacci sequence is that this is true for any modulus. The numbers in the green column are the modulus for that row, and each row is the sequence we get from using that modulus on the Fibonacci numbers. They're all repeating sequences, just of different lengths, as shown by the highlights. I had to zoom out to show you some of these because 10 takes 60 terms to repeat. And that's the last of the math. Now we can get into the music. I'll quickly explain how we translate the numbers into music. Each note of a musical scale has a degree, or its position in the scale. So take C major for example. The notes are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. We can refer to the root note C as 1. D is the second note, so its degree is 2, and so on. Degree in a scale wraps around back to 1 once you reach the top, in this case C. But if we're speaking in intervals, that upper C is the octave, so we can represent that with the number 8. If we keep going up, we get D again, and that's the 9th, E is the 10th, and so on. Hopefully, the music theorists aren't cringing too hard at my explanation here. So now that we have a number assigned to each note in the scale, even past the octave, we can use the Fibonacci numbers to determine which notes to play. Like I said before, only going up is uninteresting in music. That's why we used modular arithmetic to derive new sequences from the Fibonacci sequence that are more suitable for making music with. Here's the framework that we're going to use to turn our sequences of numbers into music. We're using the F sharp minor scale because F sharp is the lowest note that you can tune a note block to, so it gives us the greatest range to work with. The number in the sequence dictates which note to play, and 0 indicates a rest or a silent beat. For example, mod 2 gave us rest 1 1, rest 1 1. Mod 4 gave us rest 1 1 2 3 1. Naturally, using a low modulus will limit the notes to the bottom of the scale. These form a nice ostinato to support the more melodic lines from the higher moduli. The moduli that share common factors produce the most consonant harmonies. This is the sound of mod 2, 4, and 8. And this is 2, 4, and 6. Now let's add 8 back in. Next, let's hear the multiples of 3. As we include higher moduli, we start to get these upper extension harmonies. Mod 5 creates an ostinato with more melodic motion. Let's hear it with the behemoth 60-note sequence from mod 10. With the upper extension harmonies from mod 15, it is cosmically divine. Here's mod 7 on its own. It sounds much more interesting with mod 14. For completeness, here's mod 11 and mod 13. The Lucca numbers. While most of you have probably heard of the Fibonacci numbers before, I'd wager that most of you have never heard of the Lucca numbers, unless you're a math nerd like me. The Lucca sequence is sort of like the Fibonacci's sibling. They're in the same family. It shares a lot of the same properties, like its relation to the golden ratio and golden spiral, being found in nature, and it even has its own repeating sequences derived from modular arithmetic, which means we can also use this sequence for music. The primary difference with the Lucca sequence is that instead of starting with 0 and 1, it starts with 2 and 1, but it follows the same pattern that each term is the sum of the previous 2 terms. Here's the chart showing the modulo calculations. Interestingly, compared to the Fibonacci modulo sequences, the lengths of the repeating sequences seem to be the same, except for the multiples of 5. The patterns for modulo 6 are the same for Fibonacci and Lucca, just offset. Here's mod 2, 4, and 8. 2, 4, 8, 12, and 16. The multiples of 3. 5 creates a very short ostinato. 5 with 10. And now with 15. Many of these give me the impression of a cauldron boiling over or choppy sea waters. 7 and 14. 11 and 13. Which did you like better, the songs of the Fibonacci numbers or of the Luca numbers? What came to mind as you heard the music? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I hope you were delighted and fascinated by this composition of the cosmos. Thank you for swinging on the spiral with me.